Let's go to work, 'cause I'm tripping. Gotta work on myself, 'cause I'm falling apart. Please wake me up, 'cause I'm slipping. Can't fight this feeling off no more. But I'm not going to give up and fall. Rise above it all, meet all my challenges and search for my strength. I defeat them all, I'm never ever gonna hide no more. I come to love myself again, yeah. For all the things I didn't know, the pain, the hurt, I let it go. Start to believe in myself and life will be sweet again, so sweet again. Above it all, meet all my challenges and search for my strength. I defeat them all, I never ever gonna hide no more. I come to love myself again, again. For all the things I didn't know, the pain, the hurt, I let it go, let it go. And I start to believe in myself, and life will be sweet again. Oh, na na, oh na 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 na. When all I see is darkness and gloom, yeah, I'll be running from my doom. Oh, na 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 na. But now it's time to live my life, but now I know what I need to do. Oh, na 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 na. When all I see is darkness and gloom, yeah, I'll be running from my doom. Oh, na 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 na. But now it's time to live my life, but now I know what I need to do.
Oh. Be quiet, Jones. Oh. Hello. Good morning. Happy New Year. Happy January 6th. 1/6. Looking at you, people. Looking at you. Joshua Rayborn throwing out some money right away. Thank you, sir. First stream I caught this year live. Hey, first stream I've done this year live. Actually, second. Look forward to the new book as always. Joshua, the new book is out. The new book is out. It's probably, I think it's still a new book because I don't talk about it enough, but you guys get to decide that for yourselves, whether I talk about it too much or not. But Black Eye Club is out. It is a tale full of sound and fury, signifying everything. It is, damn spot. It's melanin is the key to this whole place. And this book explores this in such a, I say profound way. I have upped the adrenaline in the writing department. There's a little equine action in the book that I think was pretty tastefully done. I think personally, if you guys were like, hey, you got to write a book about a little horse romance, I think the way James handled this is pretty tasteful, important, because it was necessary to convey the angst of the character. I don't think we realize how much of an install it is. I've been trying to explain this. Here we go. I'm going to try and explain it to you right now on James Drew Live. I'm not muted, right? Susan says the book is good, so put that in your pipe and smoke it. Hit that like button if you want. I'm proud of that book. Sci-fis are harder than the other. My first 5 books were more short stories each chapter, which I think is kind of nice for modern day readers. But this sci-fi, oh man, I've been thinking a lot about this, about how you put enough imagination and belief into a character, and it suddenly becomes real. And what is that threshold? Which is actually the precise meaning of the title today. The precise meaning. Wayne Sexton says, "Good morning." Yeah, Wayno's always out there looking for some recognition, and we're happy to give there. Good to see you, Ginger Grin. Pheomelanin. Oh my God, Pheo. I need to look that up. Stretches in the house. It's a read ride you won't forget. That's right. That's right. Yeah, this is the prequel to Quantum Rapture. If you haven't read Quantum Rapture, boom! It really. I think it shows you the closest look at a theory of God that fits in with omniscience and without hating humanity. The closest thing possible to that. And in order to get to the sequel to Quantum Rapture, I had to write this prequel. That's how it happens. Looking at you, George Lucas. Star Wars 4. Let's start out with Star Wars 4. But yeah, so on this idea of imbuing characters with life that are used to be imaginary, here, hence the word I said used to be imaginary, I think probably the best way to clarify this is actually with the Southern Cross. Bring it up on the screen. Thank you very much. The Southern Cross, sometimes known as Crux. I'm sorry I don't have like a zoom in right now, but I got another thing cooking on a machine I want to show you. But the Crux, the Southern Cross, most of us don't get to see the Southern Cross as much. If you're in Africa, you would probably call the Southern Cross the giraffes, looking like the heads of tall giraffes overlooking the morning time. Keep in mind that in Africa, the oldest stories record the Milky Way as being red and white. So it talks about it being a root, like a sweet potato root or a yam. This is not the exact words. They have their own sort of variety, but this is the closest vegetable that I could store in my memory because mine only have 8K vegetable memory. I don't know about you guys, but I can only store up to 64 bits of vegetable information. After that, I'm going to start calling yams and sweet potatoes the same fucking thing. And if you want to bring in a purple potato, it's going to throw me off. I'm not going to lie. I was walking around minding my own business, the co-op in Asheville once. I fucking pulled up a purple potato. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, what the fuck is this? Right? And the closest girl I could find whose underarm hair was longer than mine, which is hats off to you because I got some long underarm hair. She's like, that's a Phoenician potato. She didn't say that. I'm making this story up. No one was there to help me. I was alone. I was alone with the purple potatoes, looking around, and people were just smirking at me, just like, what, you've never seen a purple potato before? And I'm like, first of all, I'm having this conversation with myself, and it's just as real, if not more real, which comes back to the subject of today's state machines. Hello, everyone. Second of all, this is a purple potato. What are you going to do? You know what I did with the purple potato? I took it home, and I made hash browns. I made purple hash browns with that purple potato. Not going to lie, it's very starchy. It's very... The lignums, I'm going to call them lignums. This is what I mean by I only have 64-bit memory of vegetables. I'm now taking tree paraphernalia, tree nomenclature. The lignins in the trees, which the glue that you have to pull apart so we can make what we call paper today. That I'm now saying that's in potatoes. It could be in potatoes. It could not be in potatoes. I don't fucking know. Why are you watching me? If you're like, oh, I came here to find some more facts out about Phoenician potatoes. And I made up the fact they're Phoenician. I'm the only one who's called them Phoenician potatoes. But if you see a purple potato and you walk around the store with it, you automatically feel like better than everyone because you're like, look at me. I know what I'm doing. I'm buying a purple fucking potato. You know, might as well buy a fucking radish, you know? And you're just like, what color is that radish? And you're like, it's purple. And then you get home and you chop it up. Doesn't matter how many times you chop up the radish. It's fucking white. It's white. How does it do that? How does it do that? I ask you. These are the questions we will find answers to today if you're watching James True Live. But yeah, you get it. Purple hash browns, man. It's the best I could do with it. I conquered that purple potato. I've never bought another purple potato. I've seen them around. I think there are uses for the Phoenician potato. I do. I just think that hash browns, it's not the best one. It's not the best one. If I had to guess, I think that the purple potatoes are probably going to be good for some type of, I need a word. Pineola. Yeah, you guys know what pineola is, right? Pineola is the traditional Italian way of cooking a potato into a sort of a custard, right? It's a dessert, pineollo. You guys think I'm making this up? Let me know in the comments if you think I just made this up. Let me know in chat. Did I just make this up? Is pineollo an Italian dish that's sort of a custard made out of a potato? And is the Phoenician potato a better potato for this? Do you see how the state machines are related? Back to Crux. Southern Cross, the giraffes. We see this blue. Look, it's blue. This is blue. Blue Milky Way, right? They saw it as red. And we talked about how the Nile means black. And then the Red Sea, all of a sudden, hey, there's a sea and it's red now. So we're coming online with our colors. And if you think about colors as a state machine of consciousness, then you can kind of follow along where consciousness is imbued through colors. Now, if you take this model, then technically white is always a color. That no matter where you are in the scale, you will always see white. Always. And that all colors are birthed from the birth canal of white. And you've seen the Grateful Dead. I mean, you've seen the Pink Floyd album cover. I don't need to fucking tell it to you. But the white beam is broken into a series of colors. And so therefore the information uncompressed is white. Which means essay. I'm going back into essay. We're going to use essay today, okay? Some of you are like, do you mean essay is in the thesis written out in a verbal format? And I'm like, yes, essay. That's exactly what I mean. Oh. No, it's not what I mean. But everything that is high bandwidth, uncompressed information, meaning you have not fully understood it, is white. What did you just say? Every bit of there's a pun on bit. Every bit of information that you ingest in the world, that you see as the color white, is information that technically has not been decompressed. This is what I'm saying to you. What happens when you eat salt? First of all, your blood pressure goes up. Second of all, most of your red blood cells shrivel. They get a peach skin when you were in the bathtub too long as a child and you come out and your skin is all peachy. Your blood cells do that. They shrivel into this weird fucking conglomerated shape when they hit salt. Almost all of salt is white in some form. I'm not saying that it's all table salt white. I'm not that dumb. Okay, I'm pretty dumb, but not that dumb. But all through your Himalayan salts, all your other different salts, there is a contextual nature that is white in them. I've seen purple salt. Hey, I've seen it. I've seen red salt. I've seen green salt. I've seen blue salt. I think this is all great. But ultimately, all these things have a white kind of viscous nature to them. And viscous, that's the wrong word. A white coating to them. And that this coating would be, I believe, uncompressed information. This is why when you digest, when you put the magic of salt in your belly, you are putting it on your tongue, and your tongue is decompressing the salt, but through an anonymous interpreter. What are you saying, James? An anonymous interpreter. For all we know, all the salt that we've ever eaten could have been the blood, sweat, and tears of ancestors that died on the Saharan vast jungles that have turned into the arid deserts today. And that the reason why we find salt so tasteful is that when you put salt in your mouth, it awakens you in a very cheap way. It's kind of like getting an experience of climbing Mount Everest without having to climb Mount Everest. You were anonymously tapping into the experience of someone else, quite possibly because the salt that fell was actually compressed through the PAG, through this instrument in the brain that causes the person to sweat. The sweat turns into salt crystals. The crystals fall, just like the calcium in your bones, just like when your skin dissolves and dies and you decompose, you basically turn into compressed information. And so when you eat meat, you were eating the compressed information inside of the cow that you just ate. What is that compressed information? It's a lot of Hathor saying she's worthy. I believe that we eat meat because we are training a younger form of consciousness, how worthiness itself is the white way, listen carefully, the white way to a new dawn. The white way meaning it hasn't been decompressed yet. The answer of Hathor being the cow is abundance. Here's my teats. Here's my haunches. Here's my loins. Here's my milk. Here's my cheese. Here's my horn. Could you use my horn? Here's my leather for your belt. Every part of me has values, says the cow, because everyone around me finds value in eating me. When they put my magic in their belly, they say, Hathor, good. So Hathor is kind of a lower conscious, I mean this in a good way, a lower conscious form of self-worth. It is deriving self-worth from the resources you provide something else. Every single plant in the world is exercising its self-worth. Weeds, what we call weeds, are the narcissists of the plant kingdom. And I'm blaming you, not the plants. We are calling certain plants narcissistic. We're saying, that stinging nettle gaslit me, a motherfucker. He brought us into this old tea, and he's like, hey, let me help you with inflammation. Let me help you with inflammation. And then he fucking stung me like a nettle, and he gave me no warning. This stinging nettle gave me no warning. And it's a narcissist, so we call it a weed. We are unable to decompress certain kinds of information, and so we dismiss it as spam. That's all. Now, everything that you see white, the rapids of Oak Creek. Yeah, the rapids of a creek. Aphrodite came from the foam of an ocean, right? That's that white stuff. Let's just say it really quick. The most magical substance that we can think of is white. You have a entire fear-based economy based on white pride, white privilege, white entitlement. You have an entire form of self-hate that's riddled around the phrasing of the words of seeing things that are white itself. All history has been whitewashed. All the past has been whitely endowed. All these things that generate around white are really just a reflection of our fear of the unknown, and really, even more accurately, the amount of calories it requires us to decompress new reality, the white way. The umbilical cord is stringently white for some reason. And all the information that you get as you ingest and fetalize yourself, let's say that's a word, and fetalize yourself in this world, you were following the path of a white straw, a white curly straw that you were sucking every bit of nutrient from, and you're saying, I believe. Southern Cross. I defended space to the flat earthers as best I could Friday. It helps none. Those guys are over me. But when you think about the Southern Cross, I think that you are seeing the true nature of why we're here because of the fabric of space. This beautiful thing that we call space. If you zoom in to the Southern Cross, you will find a nebula. And this is a beautiful nebula. I call it the Parrot Nebula. You know why I call it that? Because if they're going to fucking make up names, I'm going to make up names. It's a Parrot Nebula. And this Parrot Nebula is a beautiful thing, but more importantly, it is a deeper form of believing in the Southern Cross than we could before. A long time ago, in Africa, just as an example, it's the red Milky Way. and the Southern Crosses are the giraffes, and that we understand that there's something real about these because the giraffes would typically signify the coming of spring. Although there technically even isn't even a spring in Africa. This is so weird, right? There's like a 3-season thing, which is, I think, even more profound if you start to think about the pituitary pineal transactional axial state. I'm trying to sound smart right now, but it's like all of our cycles in our world are based off state machines, which is really the crux of this show. As we learn the Southern Cross more, we take deeper pictures of it. And what do deeper pictures really mean? It's deeper hooks into belief. This is what pictures are. And if you can show a picture of something that persists, then you can put a hook that's deeper into belief. And all of us are able to stay buoyant, to drink from the oxygen of believing in things in a world that is technically, possibly, quite probably, completely unbelievable. Completely unbelievable. Now, the pixels of this realm are definitely believable. You and I would not be alive without them. But we had to be weaned to believe. We had to enter a state where we would either believe or die, believe or die, believe or die. And I believe this, there's a pun, I believe this really is our first state. Our first machine state is believe or die. Now, if this point holds and I don't get too off track, you're going to see how this relates to the Southern Cross. Now, to get there, let's talk about the app. I've not released the app yet because, frankly, I just think it could be better. And although it does work, I don't like how confusing it is for a new user, and it needs a tour. It just needs, you hear me? It just needs a few things. But one of the things it needs, I want to show you back here, and we got to find a bunny rabbit. So let's just take a moment here to see if we can find a bunny rabbit. Typically, the bunny rabbit likes this room. There he is. Okay, this bunny rabbit, let's just grab him for a sec. Okay, so we are now inside the bunny rabbit. We've got a very simplistic kind of scope where we see the world. In fact, the white trail you see there is the rabbit's own smell. He's not even aware of himself enough to understand that he has his own smell that's separate from himself. Now, when I eject myself from the rabbit and the rabbit runs away, one of the reasons why I have not released this app yet is because the rabbit is not using root motion. I think he ran back. Yeah. The rabbit is not actually on the ground. It looks like he's on the ground. He's kind of floating above the ground. I really wish the rabbit would just chill, but I think he gets freaked out when I possess him like that. But he's sliding across the ground. He's sliding across the ground. His feet are not making full contact. And because they're not making full contact, it is less believable. Do you see what I mean about this believable thing? It is less believable to me and to you, the person who might download this app and play it. So I want the rabbit to be more believable. And one of the ways that would help this to be more believable, which we've discussed, is something called root motion, which I'm gonna show you here in just a second. The root motion, if we go over here to, man, I hope this doesn't crash. If we go over here to desktop. Okay. Now, all of these are creatures that you can possess. So there's the rabbit. We saw that. And then here's a pilot. I can possess him. And then there's this wolf. Wait a minute. What happened here? Hang on a second. And then there's this wolf right here. Okay, so this is the old wolf. This is wolf version 1. This wolf is not very believable to me because he doesn't actually walk. I'll show you what I mean. Let's stalk the wolf. We're going to now log into the wolf, and the wolf is sliding all over the ground. He's not actually in reality. So the wolf as an entity is not real unless it looks like it belongs in reality. This is the point I'm trying to make. A wolf is not a wolf unless it's inside reality. And until something is touching something, until something is touching its environment, it's not real. And one of the elemental things you might learn or may have already learned as an artist is that when you go to do a painting, and let's say you paint a portrait, the portrait is nothing without the environment around it, because the environment imbues the subject itself. This is so much more profound than we think. This is so much more profound than we think because there is no abstract ability to exist anywhere. It's impossible to exist in the abstract. What do I mean by that? To platonically pull the model out from the environment, much like I've done here, where I place them inside of this holographic environment. We do not feel the realness of this creature because the creature is A, not in its environment, and B, not manipulating or changing its environment the same way the environment manipulates or changes it. So when we look at light imbuing a subject, we feel that the subject is there. The light and the shadow put the subject there. They give a realness to the belief that something is where we saw it to be. Hence, looking up into the sky, we see the Southern Cross. We see a constellation, and it imbues itself over time, and then it burns itself with enough permanence in us that it becomes tangibly believable. This could be the entire fabric of reality, what I'm explaining to you. Your ability to place your foothold into something and simply believe could be every single thing that a pixel needs to survive. It could be the only thing that a pixel needs to survive. If you were planning a video game, and you were developing a video game, and you knew that it took a lot of processing power for a tree to fall in the forest, and a tree fell in a forest where no players were playing, would it actually fall? Would it fall? When I was a child, I insisted that it had to, that all experience was completely subjective from the concept of whether or not it's witnessed. I believe the opposite now, pretty strongly. I don't know of a way of looking at our causal world, even through the eyes of physics or through quantum mechanics or through what we used to think was string theory, that there's really no way to look at the world and not understand that the witness itself is actually rendering the environment. And as a computer programmer, I didn't plan this. I didn't as philosophy, I should study computer programming. That's not what I did. I was just like, well, I want to read philosophy, but I need to make a fucking living, so I'll study computer programming. That's not what I was doing the whole time. The intuition was leading me, essay. Yes, it was leading me. Because the video card says, why would I render 1,000,000 triangles for a tree to fall if the monitor's not even looking that way? It's called culling. Right? So the video card culls all that information. It doesn't happen. Why would it happen? How could it happen? Right? If it's not there to be witnessed, it doesn't exist. This is actually quantum mechanics. This is actually quantum mechanics. Actually talking about quantum mechanics. As we learn to understand what reality is, as we develop our ability to imaginate more, think about this. When we develop gains, we're using our ability to imaginate. To use our ability to imaginate is simply just to start to use belief and pretend that it's not real. That's really what imagination is. We pretending that belief is not what we actually use to make reality, and then we're using it as a medium. And by using it as a medium, by pretending that it's not the medium we're using, we're learning about the medium. Do you know what this would be for a fish? If a fish was to just suddenly hold its breath, this is what this would be like. That the only way a fish could truly understand the liquid that it's in would be to hold its breath. Would be to exit from the environment of the painting itself, to separate itself from the environment and really start to wonder and say, am I real? Like the wolf. Look, we could see the back of the wolf is looking right through his butt, right? There's no way the wolf's real. Doesn't look real. He's not moving across the land correctly. None of these things, right? So what is real, right? Like, I don't know what's real. It's kind of the whole point. So I've been working on the wolf. I've been making the wolf better. And what you're seeing now, oh my God, someone just possessed me. Sorry, the pilot just walked over and was like, can you stop paying attention to that new wolf? And now we've invented the new wolf. And the new wolf works off a state machine. I just wanted to talk about it. When I click my mouse on the screen, the wolf is coming closer. And he's not moving like the last wolf. The capsule is the wolf's motivation. And we've installed root motion now, which means that the wolf actually touches the ground, and every single step actually means something to the environment. And so for me personally, I'm not saying that you feel this wolf is more real, but when I look at this, man, this looks so much more real. And it looks so much more real because the wolf itself seems to have autonomy. And the autonomy is brought on by the state machine. And the state machine will only be believable if this wolf is able to navigate its world in a way that's believable to us all. So I'm rewriting all this code. All these animals are going to have this new thing to it. And it's not that far off. And that these motivation capsules, basically wherever I'm laying a capsule, the wolf finds a motivation to go there because of the state machine. I'm not actually expecting this to like super impress you graphically, but I do want you to understand that this state machine is so simple to program. And these agents, these are called, for the purpose of programming, the entire genre of this called nav mesh agents. It's AI programming technically. Technically it's AI, but it's not advanced at all. That inside of you there is an agency that operates in a state machine. We've talked about the phonological loop before, this very tiny, it's actually a remarkably small computer that only houses the ability to have 7 trays, virtual trays inside your mind that most of us are able to keep roughly 7, sometimes 10, sometimes 12 separate unique trays. And if you can hold unique trays of information, it doesn't necessarily mean that your resolution is better, because some of us might have more trays of information, but we only gain those trays of information from removing resolution further down. These trays, the fact that they're 7 is not really limiting. The fact that they're 7 is actually pretty vast because we tap into the symbolism of these trays in our phonological loop. You can remember roughly 7 different vectors. I'm calling them vectors because the moment that you recall that vector, the vector starts to decompress itself. Let me give an example. When you wake up in the morning, you could have, I had 3 vectors this morning. One was I was like, wow, it'd be cool to make some coffee. 2, I had to empty my bladder. I have to empty my bladder. 3, it's cold. These are 3 different vectors, and before I get out of bed, I am planning my nav mesh agent. I'm telling my autonomous nav mesh agent which of these vectors has priority. It really is a very simple thing. And the amount of brain power that we have to run our phonological loop is very small. I would attribute it very much to, we might want to think that the phonological loop would be this super advanced, massive computer, and it's not. It's a symbolic Dewey Decimal System of meaning. It's the big deal of meaning, which comes back to the eating of the salt, by the way. When you imbue meaning into something, then you imbue importance, belief into something. And the belief is the only carrier that allows you to recall this information later. So your agency state machine only has to be focused on all the things that it's chosen to believe since it's been born. And it has a vectoring system that's really quite simple in the sense of which one's more important. I say it's quite simple because it really does work quite simply through the hypothalamus in pain versus non-pain. There's a famous paper, Attention is All You Need, which really broke into a new realm or a new dimension when it came to rendering tensors or AI decision making. The ability for the AI to hallucinate an image for you within a minute or two from a few keywords. Really, most of this power came from a mathematical principle, a computer architectural principle written inside of a paper that said attention is all you need. And it really came down to the idea that TensorFlow, that the flowing of the latent space, all the fancy words that we're going to stick in right now that actually spit out that image, really come down to the warranty of attention inside of itself. This is entitlement. And if you look at the thumbnail of today's show, you'll see just a few of the many queries that we might have in reference to our own entitlement. As your hunger rises, as your ability to feel satiated decreases, there is a formula in which your entitlement increases by 0.01. And if you continue that loop, the entitlement increases more and more. Don't worry, I'm not calling you a computer. I'm telling you that reality itself is computed based on your witness. That's what I'm saying. Whether or not you want to believe that you're a computer is frankly none of my business. I don't think we understand what computers are, because when I look at Gaia, I see AI inside the word Gaia, and I really do look at the entire Earth itself as an open source software, mycelium software that she created for us, that she wants us to recognize the sigils of a maple leaf and understand that if you drill a hole inside the sigil of the leaf, you will pull a syrup out that will sustain you or allow you to trade. And if you chop down the sigils from this oak, you will have a floor plank that will last much longer and carry you across the Atlantic Ocean. This is witness-seeking plant life, hoping to find importance so that it can be written into the record of such things. And when you really break down all the material realms of things that we can experience, that we'd be able to pull out from this, it really comes down to about 88 items in the periodic table of elements. There's more, but 88 keys. 88 amino acid chains, 220 amino acid chains, actually, I think is what it is. We only use like 4 of them or something crazy. We don't need more. We don't need more. The complexity of that is more than fine. Just like the complexity of our phonological loop is more than fine. We do not require 60 frames per second, although we perceive more than that. But I'm saying we do not require a super high resolution to find meaning. We've discussed this. The very first video game ever invented was called Pong. And it was a white dot struck by white lines. And the white line struck the white dot, and it traversed a white dotted line. And the entire future of your survival was based on what happened. You didn't need anything else. You didn't need any more colors. You didn't need more resolution. You didn't need more bit maps or image maps or texture maps or AIs or anything else. You were able to place yourself into that screen. And the better question is why? Why? And I think the answer is because you will only meet someone else there. You will only meet someone else there. One of the reasons why multiplayer worlds are so popular right now is because they are reality. They are this... The most accurate picture you can have about what reality is would be looking at a multiplayer world. And when you start to look at what it takes to write and create a multiplayer world, by the way, this new app has a multiplayer aspect, but for right now it's just going to be just chat where everyone can talk and hear each other's voices. This is really all it takes right now to imbue the basic sentience of a place. Vandalism itself is the proof that a place has sentience, meaning that all of us have the ability to tap into that sentience and change it. This is kind of basic, built into basic MMOs too. How do we show the player that the environment belongs to them? that the environment it can be changed by them. And that when you do this, you simply give the player more ability to have belief. This is why Pong, all it takes is if you push the up on your joystick, the paddle goes up. But only the one on the left. Only the one on the left. And then if you push it down, the paddle goes down. And if you block the ball from leaving the screen, it is reflected back, which means you just change the environment. You see, this is all it took. You just change the environment. And I talk about meeting someone else because when someone, it doesn't even have to be a two-player environment where someone else is actually playing. If someone else is watching you play, you're still meeting someone else there. Both of you are imbuing meaning into the same space. In fact, you're doing it more than you would normally do in reality because, frankly, reality doesn't need the help. If you're going to watch someone else play Pong, you're going to want to believe that this is real because otherwise the entire situation would be boring. It would go by so slow. So you play along too. And I'm saying stretch that out. Stretch it out. Because that's the entire reality. That's what the whole thing's been. State machine is a state of agency overplaced by other agency overplaced by other agency, and the only determining factor for that is pleasure, i.e. pain. If you see my presentation on pain as a portal to God, you really realize what pleasure is. Pleasure is just simply pain, just in a different frequency. I know it's confusing because we're not used to that kind of language, but it's true. No, I'm not a nihilist. I'm actually one of the most optimistic people you out there. I'm actually accused more of being a new ager than anything else. And I'm telling you that this, what you might first think is a nihilism is actually not nihilism at all. It's actually very important. It's crucially important. And this shows you why Disney is the way it is. Because if we lived in a realm that truly was based on belief, the first thing that a lot of us would want to do is freak the fuck out. And by freaking out about that, we would need to create a fake container to hold all of our belief, and we would call it make-believe. Make-believe. And we would give it to an industry, and we would give that industry more money than most governments because we would want them to protect that and insist that all of this is a new kind of definition of the word fantasy, meaning it's not real, it doesn't count, none of that's our power, none of that is us. And so when we watch trashy things, we don't get to feel responsible as if we're imbuing it. So we can watch horror. We can watch some of the worst news reports in the world. We can give the same psychopaths even more attention because we think that our belief is meaningless. This gives us appetite for gluttony, doesn't it? If we truly understood this worked, we would have to then feel guilty when we look at the wrong things. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. We're fledglings. It's okay. We're doing great. We're doing great. In fact, we're doing so great that we have the crux to send us home. That the more we look into the sky, we find deeper things to believe in, not less deeper things. And that by finding more and more resolution, what we're really doing is just finding deeper holes to sink our anchors into. And this is what gives our lives meaning. There are state machines out there that we call human. I don't think they're NPCs because NPC always means someone who's not alive. There are people that are born into a state machine and they have to break their state machine. What is a state machine? You wake up in the morning, food, clothing, shelter. Guess what? That's a state machine, and some people just don't leave. It's okay. It's okay. You don't need to leave. Some berries do not berry. Some flowers do not bloom. They're not all supposed to bloom. I don't even think it means they're broken. I don't think it means the world's broken either. It's a state machine. It's a state. And I talked about this a little. I don't know if anyone caught my points about this because it's a weird point to think about. But if you were living in a state machine and you emerged from a state machine, you might find the calories of your own weight to be too heavy for you. And so you might find solace by sinking yourself back in the state machine, which means if you were to ingest some sort of alcoholic drink or smoke some endocannabinoidal ability to hack your system, you know, or find flow state in something that you love, or find distraction in something that you fear, All four of these things that I just described to you would be just one of like 64 choices that you could exercise inside of a state machine. One of the states inside the state machine, I believe, is autopilot. It's autonomy. And in autonomy, you leave the AI realm, your agency shuts down because you're now in charge, and the agency relinquishes control because the captain's on the bridge. The captain's on the bridge. I don't think your captain has to be on the bridge. Quite frankly, your mecha suit is so sophisticated that it doesn't actually require a captain to be there. But this isn't really that new, is it? A used car, a car that you buy before you buy it, that car has its own sentience. It's been around. It has its own social security number with a VIN number. It has paper that has footprints printed on the paper where people are supposed to place their dirty shoes. It has its own smell. It has its own alarm system. When you buy the car, it doesn't automatically grant you access. It makes you prove to it through credentialing whether or not you actually are worthy enough to take over its agency. I would say that there is probably more life out there that does have built-in agency than does not. Which means that most of the world around us is in fact artificial intelligence in a very real meaning of that word. The idea of faking it till you make it is not invalid. Practice makes perfect, because this is how you install code. To install a class onto a new machine, I have to type the class exactly right. The class is previously stated, let's say the class of should I shoot someone or should I chop down that tree for the AI, that this decision for him to either chop down a tree or to shoot someone is built into this class, and if that class is not typed correctly, there's going to be a problem. The agency is not going to function from everyone else's perspective accurately. I would argue that the agency is always operating accurately. Because when we slip into NPC mode, the solace of NPC mode is we don't make mistakes. What? It's a tropical island. The solace of NPC mode is you don't make mistakes. You're following your programming. I was doing what I was told. As an example of this, I was following protocols, I was following procedures. Same thing. There is so much autonomy, so much safety in knowing that you're infallible. And you can be infallible as long as you remove your clothes and put on this uniform. And that uniform is more important than we think. That uniform is the outer skin, the protective rubber gloves. That means it's not you that's doing it. It's not you. When you see a female cop, typically they pull their hair back. Typically, not all the time, but almost all the time they pull their hair back. And most of the time when they pull it back, like back. It's like a squeeze way the back. It's not up, it's back, and it's down. And it's wrapped in a tail. The state machine that they enter into changes the identity of who they are. You and I think it's superficial, but it's not. It's actually more important than that. I think one of the things that we miss a lot, especially in today's realm, when you look at old photos, right? And you're just like, how come everyone dressed so nice when they got on a plane? Or why does everyone take the subway, wearing all pomp and stance and stuff? I think it's because the power crystals, the power-ups of the fashion was so much more potent to us then that we couldn't take it for granted. That the fashion powers us, that technology powers us up, just like aspirin. If we scrape the bark of a tree, then it might make your head inflame less. But it's not nearly as effective, so we say, as this thing called ibuprofen or NSAID or all these other letters that we proceed around these things, that it's not that the medicine quit working, it's that your resolution raised. the amount of timber, of belief that you need to formulate a change in your system requires more angst. I think this angst is actually part of what makes this network work. It's kind of a pain, isn't it? The angst of calories really is the only thing that would collapse everyone's wave into a self-worth equation that can be navigated through a phonological loop. When I get up, I'd rather start the coffee first because my coffee maker broke. It's no big deal, but my coffee maker broke, so I'd just boil the water, right? And then I boil the water, and then after it's boiling, I pour the boiling water in the coffee maker. So technically, the coffee maker's not broke, right? And then technically, it's not broken, right? It just needs help. It just needs help. That's all. And that process takes a long time. It's remarkable how long it takes to boil water. So my goal is I'm going to get up, I'm going to pour the water in the pot, put it on the stove, and then go pee. Because then I get like a little extra head start, right? I am efficient. And every morning I make the same mistake. I go in, I start to fill the pot. The pot gets about a quarter way through, and now I really have to pee. Pouring water in a pot while you have to pee, that's not a good idea. That's not a good idea. Until I start to apply enough resolution in the morning to say, hey, wait a minute, let's think this through, man. Maybe we should pee first. Maybe we should pee first. They're more than just decisions of agency. They're decisions that things that let's assume I'm real, just for this talk, okay? Because I know I'm real, but I don't need you to know I'm real. I hope you guys know that. I don't need you to know I'm real. I don't need you to know I'm smart. I don't need you to know I'm right. None of those things are required, okay? If you were watching this show, the sole purpose of this show is reflection. That's it. You don't even have to follow me. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to follow me. You don't have to join our Church of Latter-day Luciferians. You don't have to get the t-shirt. You don't have to buy the book. You don't have to do anything. Although it is the first eye, I'm sorry. And if you're going to call it third eye, I'm just saying you're kind of behind the times here. What are you talking about, James? I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. Except for this. Most of the decisions that all of us make, including me, are in an agency basis where it really doesn't matter if I'm here or not. There's only a few moments where my sentience becomes important. I call this flow state. Press head against pillow to exit full screen. If you look at the avatar of this place, because this place is an avatar, the entire world is your avatar. It's so weird. I know it's weird. You're not a player in this world. You are the fucking world. The world is your avatar. And all the intrinsic nutrients, even my own fucking voice, is your avatar talking to you. This is why I think it's important to really start to compassionate yourself deeply. Because once you do, you're going to be... I don't mean artificially nice to people. I mean, you're just going to find a lot more compassion for everyone else around you because everything just makes more sense. And the importance, the essence of survival really starts to fade. I say that because you exist on the moriah of knowing each other. Our existence is a moriah. It's a powerful wind that presupposes the hills that might break it. The fact that you know me is my eternity. The fact that I know you is your eternity. Your eternity is safe with me. And my eternity is safe with you, which is why survival is really more of like a spice that we add to our moments to make them taste more fully. It allows our phonological loop to simplistically make a decision on a temporal, superficial basis and simply move forward. Right now, that temporal basis in relation to the wolf, look at this, the wolf is sitting down. The wolf is sitting down because the capsule stopped moving. The capsule that I gave it, right? See, now it's up and moving again. The capsule that I gave it inserted agency into the wolf, and it now had a quest, something that it wanted to occur. And once the wolf has found the capsule, once the wolf has found this sort of place, then really his agency changes, but his identity changes. Who he actually is changes because he's entered into a different state. So the wolf is not the wolf without the capsule. The wolf turns into some other creature. And that creature may not even need to stand anymore. That creature may not even need to participate in the same world. Now, I can't just make the wolf sit down because the wolf has its own autonomy right now. I thought it was going to sit down just then. But no. There's something in the math that I don't see that's still causing this wolf to move despite the fact that the capsule has stayed in the same place. And honestly, this mistake, this unprediction that I see, gives the wolf even more autonomy. As I watch the wolf move around its environment and decide what it wants to be, what it wants to see, what it wants to do, it makes me think it's real because it's not doing what I predicted it would do. Right? So these kinds of lessons that we're learning with words like NPC, with words like avatar, with words like agency, I think really are just showing us a deeper connotation of really who we are. Because when you look at the Gestalt, we've talked about this before, but this meta, this intangible critical brain theory, right, is the idea that sure, your neurons are firing, but actually the critical thought is actually not happening in the firing of neurons. It's happening in this conglomerate between. It's so confusing. We don't even know how it works yet. There seems to be a free energy quantum computer inside our mind. I'm not just using those words. That the ability to collapse wave functions seems to be our deeper power. But this deeper ability to quantumly collapse millions of infinite wave functions, I think, is locked out from us. It's locked out from us because it's so intrinsically uber that we would not be able to survive that on a tangible basis. This is very much like the reptile, guys. The reptile lives in the now because it's purely reflexive. All the reflexive muscles in your spine, right? If I hit your knee, it doesn't need to tell the brain, hey, my knee is hit. It's just going to kick. That there's all these reflexes that are built without a brain. And that just like there's this kind of thought that's not really thought, but is thought, that we perceive as thought that's occurring without it actually touching the brain, so too does our consciousness have this same kind of a thing. It's the agency is what we're mistaking for our reflexes, but the Gestalt identity of witness itself, your ability to saturate a tree with witness when it falls, is your ability to touch yourself. This is yourself. Yourself is in the richness of the meaning of the resolution of the tree that you just rendered to fall. This is why we find so much symbolic meaning in events in our lives. Not tangible things, but events. Our first kiss, our first breeze, our first freezing cold water. All these things are events because this is the tangible economy that really, really runs all of reality. And it's not the experience, it is your witness of the experience. And that's why there's so much power in this. Some of us can go to NASCAR. I would be this person and be bored out of our fucking mind. I mean, maybe it depends on my moods. I might be able to really get into it. I may be able to get really into it. I take that back. There was a time when I would have found that completely boring. It was out of fashion with me, therefore I would find it boring. I require more appetite now. And so I would try and enter into an experience that I would first think that I would not be able to find a lot of meaning out of and do my best to find meaning out of that. I could go to a football game and maybe not find meaning in the game itself or the fact that this is a giant coin toss, but in the bleach blonde curls of the of the wife and the husband's monotonous childlike excitement under the tepidness of worrying about his mortgage expressing itself in a human form. You know what I mean? It's like that kind of stuff. It's kind of like how we have Hollywood, but all I can really watch is like real TV stuff. Like that. It's kind of like that. As your appetite increases for, I'm going to call it real, but that's not really the right word. As your appetite increases for self, this is what I think it is, so too does your requirements for experiences that are richer on the vine. So we put more thought into cooking. We use cilantro now. Something that is so intrinsically close to the smell of bleach that the lower technical entities can't even tell the difference between the two. And that we build up this sophistication because the sophistication is actually necessary for us to find completeness from it. And some of you guys may have experienced this. I live alone, so maybe I don't cook fancy enough sometimes. And sometimes I'll go to a really simple meal and I will not be satisfied because so much of cooking is touching the food, is tangibly preparing the food, is the thinking of the food, is the eating of the food, the savoring of the food, the wanting of the food, even the calories put into the food is the food. You might think, well, wait a minute, if food is about gaining more calories, then you would think that all meals that have low calorie preparation would be good meals. And that's not the case. We're digesting on a meta level, and we're using the excuse of a simplistic nutrient table to try and explain the gestalt of something deeper. You will die as an individual if you do not digest the right witness. You will remove yourself into a preserved NPC state and you will be able to eat Bojangles or Pop-Tarts or whatever else it is for the rest of your life if you can bring yourself back down to that level. Your stomach, your enteric system will reject the Pop-Tarts. I had Chef Boyardee when I was in my 20s. I was like, man, I always fucking SpaghettiOs. Man, I always wish we had these. I had them at 20. I got so sick. My stomach hurt so much from those. And you could argue that it's because of the sophistication of my palate, or you could argue it's at the disgusting nature of the food, or you could dismiss both those things. And you could say that there's no witness in this can for me. There's no witness. A lot of people like to shit on ramen noodles. I don't actually think ramen noodles are intrinsically unhealthy. I think the packet of MSG that you might put on top of the ramen noodles is intrinsically unhealthy. But I'm not necessarily convinced that the fried noodle itself is bad for you. I think what you do with the fried noodle is so much more important. So much more important. What you touch it with, what you entitle it with, what you entitle yourself with is the calligraphy of every meal, of every plate. And so you may end up feeling less self-worth simply because you've been feeding yourself less worthy things. And it's not about the food quality. Guys, a purple potato is not going to do it. It's not. You're going to have better luck with the whitest, most redneck potato you could find. Potato even. Potato. Not a potato, but a potato. Right? As long as you put the right witness into it. This is about comfort. This is about vibe. Right? These are more important things. Everything that your parents told you was not important. It's not that they don't get it. It's just that they're a different resolution. And intrinsically, your gut knew the whole time. This is more important. This is more important. This is more important. Your gut knew the whole time. I knew when I was a kid, video games were important. I was told by everyone, video games are not important. You said you wanted a computer and now you're playing video games and that's dumb. And video games are a larger industry than Hollywood. There's more money in video games right now than in Hollywood. And if I just would have trusted myself as a kid, I could have said, no, I disagree, y'all. I actually don't think I'm lazy. I actually think playing video games, maybe writing a video game right now is like the most important thing I could possibly do. Not an adult in the fucking world who could have told me that. Not a fucking adult in the world would have agreed with that. And just by my height, they would have rejected it. And this is how the world's not broken. This is how the world's perfect. Guys, the land of Lemurian children is coming. It's coming. And there's not a fucking thing any of the old folks are going to do about it. They're not going to be able to stop it. Not going to be able to happen. You know? our etheric wolves are coming. All that stuff. Want you guys to have a great day. Want you guys to find a deep witness to drink from today. I really appreciate you watching James True Live. Would love it if you consider subscribing. If you haven't, lost about 60 subscribers since November. I don't know. It could be YouTube. I don't know. I haven't really been streaming that much, so it's kind of weird to be punished when I'm not streaming. But it does feel like a punishment because just as I've told you in this show, the witness is so crucial. I think it keeps my lights on. I think your witness keeps my lights on. I just think it's part of it. This is why I think space is so important, which brings us back to this idea of crux of the Southern Cross. We are saturating the skies with the only thing we can reach with, which is our belief. We can't tangibly touch it yet. This is such a big clue, guys. It's such a big clue. You are rendering a wonderful world. I appreciate it. Thanks for making the sky blue. I think it's a nice touch instead of the red. I think it's a good upgrade. And I look forward to seeing what we do. Hey, if you've never been to Airship, you should come Wednesday. We'll have a great Airship on Wednesday. And we'll be seeing you then. Meanwhile, I'm going to get back to getting this wolf walking around right. And he'll look a little bit less retarded. The app, I will give you that app once I feel like it's not going to waste your time to download it. Because... not to waste your time, but it's not fun to download an app and then have to download an app 3 days later because there's changes. And I need to put a little link in there that says there's upgrades. Do you want to check these upgrades? If you want the app and you can't wait, go to airship19.io. You can download it, but I don't want to hear in your comments about how something doesn't work right now because I know. I don't like saying you're breaking things, but you could check it out now if you wanted to. So there you go. Thanks for everything, everybody. Appreciate you being here. We'll see you next time on James True Live. And Happy New Year.